and vote later today at 6:30 Eastern. Scheduled today, bills to allow more foreign workers, skilled foreign workers in the U.S., bankruptcy protection for National Guard and reservists, and also a bill that would make a number of changes to federal worker disability compensation. The House is gaveling in, live here on C-SPAN.
The House will be in order. The Chair lays before the communication from the Speaker.
The Speaker's Rooms, Washington, D.C., November 29, 2011. I hereby appoint the Honorable Andy Harris to act as Speaker pro tempore on this day. Signed, John A. Boehner, Speaker of the House of Representatives.
The prayer will be offered by our chaplain, Father Conroy.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we give you thanks for giving us another day. You have blessed us with all good gifts, and this past week, with thankful hearts, we gathered with family and loved ones throughout this great land to celebrate our blessings together. Bless the members of the People's House who have been entrusted with the privilege to serve our nation and all Americans in their need. Grant them to work together in respect and affection and to be faithful in the responsibilities they have been given. As the end of the first session approaches and much is left to be done, bestow upon them the gifts of wisdom and discernment, that in their words and actions they will do justice, love with mercy, and walk humbly with you. May all that is done this day be for your greater honor and glory. Amen.
The Chair has examined the journal of the last day's proceedings and announces to the House his approval thereof. Pursuant to Clause 1 of Rule 1, the journal stands approved. For what purposes, gentlemen?
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Clause 1 of Rule 1, I demand a vote on the Speaker's approval of the journal.
The question is on agreeing to the Speaker's approval of the journal. Those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. The journal stands approved.
Mr. Speaker, I object to the vote on the grounds that a quorum is not present and make a point of order that a quorum is not present.
Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, further proceedings on this question are postponed. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Kucinich.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask that colleagues and those in the audience please rise and join us as we celebrate our nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Chair will entertain requests for 1-minute speeches. For what purpose does the gentleman from Texas rise?
Request permission to address the House for 1 minute.
The gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, those who say that the border is secure and the violence is contained in Mexico are living in a blissful state of ignorance. Case in point, last week, according to the Houston Chronicle, 3 SUVs carrying Mexican Zeta cartel soldiers tried to hijack a tractor truck rig loaded with drugs on a road in North Houston. They unleashed blazing gunfire. A shootout occurred with police who were tracking the truck from Mexico. The truck driver was killed. A peace officer was wounded. 3 Mexican nationals and another of unknown citizenship were charged with capital murder. The local head of the DEA, Javier Pena, said, "We're not going to tolerate these thugs using their weapons like the Wild, Wild West." Sadly, this brazen case of violence is familiar scene on the streets of Mexico. And now it has become a reality in the United States. Until Washington realizes what happens in Mexico doesn't stay in Mexico, more cartel shootouts on American streets are coming our way. And that's just the way it is.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Ohio rise?
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. I request permission to address the House for 1 minute.
The gentleman is recognized.
Well, Congress is in a deadlock over tax and spending cuts. We learned the Fed secretly gave Wall Street banks over $7.7 trillion. Where did the Fed get that $7.7 trillion? They created most of it from nothing. Well, our government slid into massive debt The Fed picked winners and losers and secretly helped big banks tally record profits. Remember the great debate we had here over $700 billion in TARP funds? There was no debate over the $7.7 trillion the Fed gave the banks. Did Congress have a clue? There's another game going on way over our heads, and our constituents are struggling. Well, the banks, with the help of the Fed, have captured control of our government. Now the rating services are threatening us. If we don't come up with a deal, they'll downgrade U.S. debt. Could the threat to our national sovereignty be any clearer? It's time for Congress to listen to the wisdom of the founders, reclaim its constitutional primacy over monetary policy. There is a way. It's called the NEED Act. The Fed takes our freedom and gives it to the banks. Let's take our freedom back from the Fed.
For what purpose does the gentleman from South Carolina rise?
Mr. Speaker, I ask permission to address the House for 1 minute, revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, last Monday, the Joint Select Committee on Deficit Reduction announced that the bipartisan group had failed to reach an agreement. In an op-ed to the Wall Street Journal, Congressman Jeb Hensarling, co-chair of the Supercommittee, stated that the group, quote, missed an historic opportunity to lift the burden of debt and help spur economic growth and job creation, end of quote. Last week, I attended a town hall meeting in Forest Acres, South Carolina, hosted by Mayor Frank Brunson, where we discussed ways to promote small businesses and encourage job growth within the private sector. The message from the constituents is very clear. Congress must reduce Washington's out-of-control spending before it's too late. As Congress returns from the Thanksgiving Day recess, I encourage our colleagues in the Senate to begin focusing on job creation by considering any of the 20 job bills the House has passed with bipartisan support this year. In conclusion, God bless our troops, and we will never forget September 11th and the global war on terrorism.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Texas rise?
Ask permission to rise and address the House for 1 minute, revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It was about a week ago that the Joint Select Committee announced that they were unable to reach an agreement in finding $1.2 trillion in cuts before their deadline. Now, could they have done this without really breaking a sweat? And the answer is yes, they could. The entire target for which they were reaching, the $1.2 to $1.5 trillion, could have been cut with a single act, repealing the Affordable Care Act. $1.5 trillion in new spending that this country cannot afford is contained within the confines of the Affordable Care Act. Now look, Washington needs to quit pointing fingers and get back to work if we expect to put America back on a path to prosperity. American families are making cuts at home, and Washington should do the same thing. Families do not have the luxury of missing their deadlines, and neither should Washington. Americans must reduce our deficit, and we need to put people back to work. The House has passed more than 25 bills that would affect employment. 20 of these House-passed jobs bills are stalled in the Senate. You can find out more about them going to jobs.gop.gov. Let's get people back to work and focus on ways to reduce the deficit. That means creating more taxpayers, not more taxes. I'll yield back the balance of my time.
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Illinois rise?
Ask permission to address the House for 1 minute and revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentlewoman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to congratulate the Illinois Bolingbrook High School football team on winning the Class 8A state championship on November 25th. Coach John Iveblow led the team to a record-breaking season of 13 wins and 1 loss. This accomplishment by the Raiders marks the first state football championship for Bolingbrook High School. Despite the absence of their star linebacker, the Raiders overcame 5 turnovers and won the championship game by a score of 21-17 against the top-rated Loyola Academy. Each player this season demonstrated a tremendous level of dedication and hard work, including seniors Antonio Morrison and Robbie Bain. Other stars of the game included junior Aaron Bailey, who scored the game-winning touchdown, and senior Darian Rhodes, who sealed the game with an interception. Mr. Speaker, our community is very proud of these accomplished young athletes. Once again, I'd like to congratulate the Bolingbrook High School Raiders on their win and wish them continued success in all of their future endeavors. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from North Carolina rise?
Permission to address the House for 1 minute, Mr. Speaker.
The gentlewoman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The so-called super committee announced last week that it was unable to come up with a plan to reduce the deficit by $1.2 trillion over the course of 10 years. That is a sad commentary on Washington, D.C.'s addiction to overspending. After all, $1.2 trillion is less than 1 year's worth of overspending at the going rate. It's time to get serious. Just consider the mess in Europe. The Eurozone's bailout fund is struggling to keep debtor nations like Greece, Ireland, and Portugal afloat, while Italy also teeters on the brink of insolvency. Europe's sovereign debt crisis is not an abstract economics lesson. It is the painful reckoning after years of debt-financed government profligacy. What should unnerve us is that some of these nations being battered by the consequences of high debt levels have debt-to-GDP ratios that are close to our own. If Congress doesn't get serious about reducing spending and ending the federal debt addiction, we're going to find ourselves in the same boat as our friends in the Eurozone. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Illinois rise?
Request permission to address the House for 1 minute.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This Thanksgiving, many of us had the opportunity to spend time with our families and loved ones. So I think it's fitting that November is National Adoption Month. I also think it's appropriate to take time during this holiday season to recognize the tens of thousands of families nationwide who are foster families. Unfortunately, in my home state of Illinois, a potential tragic situation has unfolded. Faith-based adoption agencies across the state are being shut down because of their belief in traditional marriage. The Illinois Department of Child and Family Services has declined to renew contracts with several organizations. They have decimated these agencies, some of whose work was 70% foster care. It's an unfortunate situation, and I'm watching it closely. But today I want to say publicly that as we fight to curb teenage pregnancy and abortion, the right to adoption is one thing we really must defend. I yield back.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Pennsylvania rise? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, let's be perfectly clear. Our tax policy affects job growth. When the federal government raises taxes, raises rates, or creates new taxes, businesses make decisions regarding their workforce. When the government takes more, businesses have to make do with less. All told, last year's health care reform law will raise taxes by $800 billion over the next 10 years. One of the new taxes is a 2.3% tax on medical devices. Michigan-based manufacturer Stryker recently announced that they will reduce their workforce by 5% so that they will be prepared to pay this new tax beginning in 2013. Stryker is just one of the first to announce reductions in layoffs. In the next year, medical device companies will be faced with difficult decisions about where they will cut in order to pay this massive new tax bill. Many will have no choice but to reduce the workforce. We don't need a health reform law that destroys jobs. We need one that encourages the creation of good jobs with good benefits. We must repeal the so-called Affordable Care Act. I yield back.
Pursuant to Clause 12A of Rule 1, the Chair declares the House in recess until approximately 4 p.m. today.
The House coming back at 4 p.m. for 4 bills, including one to allow more skilled foreign